kind of a big day here on the East Coast. We had an earthquake today.
Oh,
no, that's big.
How strong was it?
4.7.
That's all right. That's
California sending more than weed over there, huh?
It was centered in Lebanon, New Jersey, and felt in New York City, but we felt it up here in Vermont, and so yes, it's earthquake day.
So all the leaves got ruffled, all the pine needles fell off.
So there's a whole lot of shaking going on. So my story today, happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're having a good week and you got a great weekend planned. We actually also have we are in the path of totality for the eclipse on Monday. So Vermont is going to be overwhelmed with flatlanders who are coming up here to watch the dark star. So my story today comes from the MJ Biz Daily. It's hemp-derived THC producers wary of how U.S. Farm Bill could change market. It's covering our favorite topic, which is hemp and its differentiation from cannabis. But the article starts, hemp drinks are big business in the United States and poised to grow even bigger. I thought you'd like that, Jason. Mm-hmm. Mary Bernuth wants in, and she's not alone. Thanks to the 2018 U.S. Farm Bill, hemp-based products are at least quasi-legal across the United States, and unlike marijuana, they're shippable across state lines. Companies big and small are betting on hemp-derived drinks becoming the next big thing for health-conscious, smoke-wary consumers. Bernuth's Pharos Brands was one of 30 hemp-derived THC beverages companies at a Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of America January Expo at the Las Vegas Convention Center. According to the Hemp Beverage Alliance, hemp drink companies took up as much as 10% of the floor. We're killing it, Bernuth said. Bernuth told MJ Biz Magazine from the bustling convention hall. Things went so well, she's banking on contributing to a movement as well as running a successful business. We want to make this mainstream, she said. We feel hemp beverages are an essential piece of destigmatizing THC. But when the first can of Pharos seltzer is sold in the United States this spring with 2.5 milligrams of hemp-sourced THC, it won't be sold in Montana, where Bernuth lives, or where Pharos is produced. That's because Montana law requires any end product with more than 0.3% THC to be sold at a state-licensed marijuana dispensary. Such rules don't exist on the other side of the Dakotas in Minnesota, where in 2022, state law specifically allows products with low doses of hemp-derived THC to be sold through mainstream retail outlets such as supermarkets and convenience stores, as we have covered here numerous times on the High at 9 News. In a familiar theme, states around the country offer similar patchwork of conflicting rules. At least for now, that's the case. The federal law that has allowed hemp-derived products product market worth billions of dollars to emerge almost overnight could soon change, and dramatically. The intoxicating hemp market, from drinks to gummies or smokable flower, the company's appetite for psychoactive products sourced from hemp is enormous. And it's what economist Bo Whitney estimates conservatively at a $28.4 billion market. Barely existed before 2018's Farm Bill accidentally legalized it. The Farm Bill, which legalized the production of hemp across the United States, was intended to be a boon for long-suffering or producers of low THC cannabis, and intended to be spun into fabric, pressed into oil for fuel, and processed into other health foods. Hemp is a source of CBD, or cannabidiol, which can be converted into psychoactive delta-8 THC, can also be converted into delta-9, hence the boom in delta-8 infused products across the country. The latest evolution is hemp-derived delta-9 THC. Oh, okay, so the author caught up with me. Operators with enough hemp could also extract delta-9 hemp to produce and ship gummies and other infused products that are functionally identical to state-regulated marijuana products across the country. It's conventional wisdom that federal lawmakers did not create this new market when they legalized hemp production nationwide with the 2018 Farm Bill. Since then, businesses, including Pharos, have existed in a state of uncertainty that some argue, if you can believe it, is even more confusing than the regulated marijuana industry. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has publicly declared that hemp-derived THC has serious health risks, and the Drug Enforcement Administration has hinted it doesn't consider any hemp extracts to be legal. However, federal regulators have taken limited enforcement action over this market. Only companies selling products marketed with unproven medical claims or marketed with packaging similar to mainstream snack and beverage brands have drawn attention in the form of letters from the US FDA. And then nothing more seriously happens other than cease and desist letters. But it is also understood that this uneasy status quo is temporary. Depending on when Congress passes the next Farm Bill and exactly what's in it, the ground could shift underneath Burnouth's business and the hemp-derived cannabinoid sector yet again. The problem is nobody knows what that might be or when it will come. Overall, the federal government is quite unpredictable, said Michelle Bodian of the New York-based co-chair of the Vicente law firm's Hemp and Cannabinoids Department, as well as the Hemp Beverages Alliance General Counsel. The longer this thing drags out, the more opportunity there is for issues to come up to the forefront, she added. It's obviously hard to predict where these are going to land in terms of hemp's favor or against it. And then it goes on to talk about the Farm Bill and the provisions and the timeline. But what this really doesn't address adequately is that the USDA's Farm Bill regulation ends at harvest of hemp. So once they've done a pre-harvest test to show that that variety is below 0.3% THC, and it may be, when it's tested, certainly just a week or two later, you could have THC levels in the teens from something that registered no THC. That's how quick the contents of the trichome can change at harvest time. So really, once that plant or that batch is tested and deemed as hemp, what happens after harvest is not addressed in the Farm Bill at all. And this is where the regulation needs to be picked up from the Food and Drug Administration and not just fall into the bailiwick of the Drug Enforcement Administration, which again is dealing with an antiquated set of laws that considers cannabis a Schedule I drug. How could cannabis be a Schedule I drug when the active ingredients, CBD, and THC are the active ingredients of FDA-approved drugs? This is where the whole Schedule I thing comes unwound, because the plant from which they're derived can definitely not be Schedule I if the active ingredients in FDA-approved drugs that have gone through the gauntlet of clinical trials basically says that, yes, these are medicines and these do help people with these certain diseases. Now, they point out again that CBD companies that sort of cross the line and make medical claims are the ones that have been getting letters, but they get letters, they may get a cease and desist. And occasionally, I guess there is some things in the news about smoke shops being raided and CBD products being taken down. But I don't really think that Congress had fully mulled over the CBD opportunity when they approved the Farm Bill in 2018. I think they got snookered on oil and paper and fiber, which, yeah, you could make out of hemp, but I don't think that they truly considered regulatory pathway for CBD, since CBD is the active ingredient of an FDA-approved drug, the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits adding CBD to food, feed, or cosmetics, which basically is what's keeping the entire CBD market nascent. This article is mostly addressing the intoxicating market, right? So once those hemp plants are deemed hemp and you can convert that into CBD, who's there to regulate what happens to the CBD isolate? So CBD isolate in a chemical reaction can be made into THC. Either Delta 8 at first, the converters were less sophisticated and were jumping off the thermodynamic cliff and making Delta 8. But now they're sophisticated enough that they can make Delta 9. And most of the hemp-derived Delta 9 that's out there in the market, in all of those beverages, at least, that's in your wonderful home state of Minnesota, shout out for Minnesota, most of that hemp-derived, if not all of it, does not come naturally from the trichome of a cannabis plant. It comes from a chemical reaction. Chemical reactions done basically making active pharmaceutical ingredients by labs that maybe shouldn't be doing that. So this is all a manufactured, thing, a byproduct of cannabis prohibition. If people have access to high quality cannabis and cannabis derived products, they won't need recreational synthetics. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear what the rest of my correspondents have to say. I hope you all are having a nice weekend, and don't look into the eclipse without having the right glasses on. Okay, folks? Only Trump does that.
Oh, God.
You know what? He's gonna stare into the eclipse. And he's gonna tell God,
blinded by the light, right, Rico?
Oh, man.
Not on my watch.
So what do you guys think about this?
I mean, it sounds to me like all of the CBD companies are taking a dump in their pants because they know they're going to get regulated and not be able to do this Delta 8 stuff and all this other stuff anymore. And they're having a panic attack, and they're figuring out what kind of messaging they got to put out there to the general public to make sure that the public gets enraged if they mess up this farm bill too much.
Well, think about it, Jason. Here's what's going on in Minnesota, right? You have a building, right? And the building is owned by a wealthy man or a wealthy individual, right? And that wealthy individual is taking CBD in the front door. He's converting that into THC, and then he's putting it into a canned beverage. So he's got a canning line. Those canning lines are not cheap. They start anywhere between a half to more like $4 or $5 million, yep. Right?
They're not
cheap.
It's
a huge capital investment to make beverages. But within one building, he's taking Farm Bill legal CBD and he's sending out beverages that basically are diluted down to below the 0.3, but are still enough THC to get somebody hammered. So that's completely copacetic by the Farm Bill, right? There's no illegal operation. There's no thing, right? It's all happening underneath one roof.
Yep.
That's basically what they've enabled.
I guess if you can't beat them, join them, right, Dr. Mark?
Well, is there a value proposition for looking at how you can take non-psychoactive ingredients, do some magical proprietary process, turn them into psychoactive ingredients, and then sell them in a non-licensed market? Mm-hmm. That's what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on this, Matthew?
The whole thing is just insane. We just really need to free the plants, free the fungi. Let people do what they will with things that grow from the earth. They're trying to regulate this, and part of this is the false segregation between hemp and cannabis. They're the same plant, and so this is just folks who were living in 50 to 100 years ago trying to with the 21st century. It boggles my mind.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
Like he said, $28.4 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that is larger than all of the combined regulated cannabis markets combined.
It is,
right?
It is, and that's
so they're the 900-pound gorilla that's in the room.
That's Rico's favorite.
Right, Jason?
Yeah, it's Rico's favorite beverage company out there in Minnesota.
On tap, baby.
Exactly. We're gonna roll to a commercial real quick. We're gonna be right back.